Sandu, what the hell is going on? My shouts were in vain as he pressed ahead, traversing through the blood, guts, and gore left in the wake of the voids without a second glance. I chased him for what felt like 15 minutes before he halted to an abrupt stop. What are you? I gasped in between breaths. But then I saw who we were really standing in front of. The kid. He was still sitting tight in his cell. His eyes remained glued to the floor. Sandu just stood there for a moment and stared at him. AJ, he finally muttered. The kid, whose name was apparently AJ, shook his head. I could see tears falling from his face as he did so. No, he choked out. I can't. Sandu smiled, tears beginning to well up in his own eyes. I know that I said you wouldn't have to, he began. I'm sorry. I promised that I'd get you out. Before I had no idea how, but there's a chance here. We can't avoid it now. AJ looked up, utter fear pervading his expression. I can't face him. Sandu slowly approached him. It's okay, he said. AJ seemed to recoil at the seemingly innocent statement. It's okay, Sandu repeated, kneeling in front of him. Your gifts are your own. Your right to use. AJ continued shaking his head. You remember what happened? That wasn't your fault. But it was! His voice was beginning to quiver. Sandu grabbed AJ by the face, looking him deep in the eyes. You've been lied to by bad people. Those same people are here with us right now. The ones that killed the people you loved and trapped you in this place. Anybody at your age with your ability would have made that mistake. That's not your fault. AJ wiped a tear from his face. If I let it out, everybody's gonna die. Sandu shook his head. No. You've been practicing and I've been watching. Better and better every day. Now it's time to be strong. Your father would have wanted that, no? He would have wanted you to face it head on. AJ remained silent. I'm sorry, but we're out of options here. Sandu's tone had gone more serious. The man who killed your family wants to kill you as well. I can't stop him. Nobody can. It's all up to you. So what are you going to do? Despite still looking at the floor, AJ suddenly clenched a fist. I'm not sure if it was my imagination or what, but I could have sworn that there was a spike in the air pressure around us, some kind of intense, overwhelming aura emanating from the kid's general vicinity. Or maybe I'd simply seen too much that day. Soon enough, AJ was standing. Sandu looked both proud and utterly terrified. He took a deep breath before turning to me. It's a long story. I'll tell you all about it later. What's about to happen? He lowered his voice. It's going to be dangerous. You don't have to come with us, just hang back. And after all this is over, you can all leave together. It was a vague warning, and one that didn't fill me with the highest degree of confidence. I could have told you myself that things were about to get dangerous. That much was obvious. I'd been watching that danger unfold over the course of an entire day, but now I had a decision to make. Did I really want to be in the thick of it? Did it even really matter? Truth be told, I'd been feeling the prospect of death looming over me since the first alarm sounded out. I didn't have too much time to think about it, though. Before I knew it, AJ had taken off sprinting, a furious beat in his step. Sandu hastily followed after, leaving me standing there with a million thoughts racing through my mind. I didn't want to be alone in that place. And I sure as hell didn't want to hang out with Adrian anymore. So I followed them. Kid was kind of running blindly, so Sandu had to direct him towards where Senju was about to make his last stand against Kente. I was more or less certain that nothing but a gruesome scene would be waiting for us. And I was right. Once we got there, Kale was still a pile of flesh and bone against the wall, while Hugo could do nothing but lie still, his life undoubtedly hanging on by a thread. Along with them, Senju was flattened against the floor. I'm fairly certain it was him. Looked like somebody had been run over by a steamroller. Kale and Hugo looked both beyond sullen, their faces wrought with bitter and painful defeat.
"You guys come to finish the job?"
Kale asked us, before letting out a short chuckle.
"Well, nothing's stopping you."
No," I stammered out. "You guys all right?" Stupid question.
"Top condition, pal. Never been better,"
Kale responded. "Where'd he go?" Sandu spoke up.
"Big psycho dick? He took off."
He stretched his neck out, gesturing towards the walkway on the other side of us.
"Guy didn't even look human when he turned Buddy over there into a pancake. Muttering shit about finishing the job and executing justice. What a fucking clown."
"Thanks," Sandu muttered before turning the head off. AJ was also starting to look a little bit antsy. Something had certainly changed his demeanor. Something dark.
"Wait, hang the fuck on. Are you going after him? Aren't you guys like guards or something? How's that gonna work out? And that kid, isn't he? What the hell's going on?"
Kale called after us. "It's a bit complicated," I responded, "but I think it'll work out." I wasn't confident. Not at all, really. Kale scoffed and chuckled.
"Right, okay. Of course, well, it's not like I want you guys to lose."
He smirked.
"Go kick his ass."
I smirked back and nodded.
"And before you leave, do me a favor. Is the priest still alive? Hasn't said anything in a while. I think I saw him twitching a bit."
Looked over at Hugo. Despite his dead expression, he was still blinking every now and then. Yeah, I responded. Kale rested his head on the wall and nodded.
"Okay. Good to know,"
was all that he said. After that short exchange, we were off running to face the insurmountable wall known as Kente. While we were looking for him, he was sure as hell looking for us as well. As we moved, I tried to gauge what Sandu was thinking. It wasn't terribly clear from his expression, but I could tell that his conviction in that moment was less than strong. Given what I knew, I could have viewed the situation from a lot of different possible angles, many of which would have led to Sandu acting as a less than moral party. But there was lost context here. I knew the guy, and unless he'd been acting all these years, there was only one conclusion I could have reached myself. For the sake of the kid, there was something that we had to do. Hell, I never believed for a second that he was malicious in nature. My thoughts were running too fast. Before I knew it, we were standing right in front of Kente. His suit had been damaged pretty badly, and he had dried blood caked all over him, although I doubted that most of it was his own. But besides one of his forearms, he wasn't injured for the slightest, meaning that taking him out was going to be a tall order. But then again, I had no idea what the kid was capable of either. Kente sneered as he walked towards us, his bloodlust seemingly transferred into the physical atmosphere around us, putting a dark, sinking feeling in my gut. But all of his attention was on the kid.
"Found you,"
he snarled. Sandu looked at AJ and nodded. "AJ, it's time." No response. In fact, the kid was frozen on the spot, his eyes enlarged in sheer terror. I was afraid something like this was going to happen. "Oh shit," Sandu muttered, before shaking AJ's shoulders. "Come on, he's coming towards us. AJ! AJ!" His voice was getting exponentially more desperate. In reality, this whole move was like a big gamble. Nevertheless, it was a gamble that he was definitely aware of beforehand. With their backs against the wall, Sandu stood firm in his promise to protect the kid. He exhaled before shielding AJ and getting himself ready for a valiant but futile stand against Kente.
"You think I won't kill a guard if they stand in the way of justice?"
Kente boomed. Sandu scoffed. "No. Think you'll kill just about anybody, you big fucking psycho." An oversized vein bulged in Kente's neck as he tensed his arm, ready to deliver a head-shattering blow. At that moment, I was simply frozen. I knew there was nothing I could do. However, as Kente put one foot back in preparation for the strike, a dark, ghost-like hand wrapped itself around his calf before pulling him down and dragging him around. I looked over at the perpetrator. A nightmare-inducing entity resembling a distorted gorilla with bulky, oversized arms. It dragged Kente around on the floor, slamming him through a gauntlet of rails and pillars in the process. The gorilla creature didn't have the upper hand for long, though. Kente let out an unworldly shriek before chopping one of the creature's arms off and ramming his fist to its head. As the entity fell limp, some kind of portal opened up underneath it, pulling it through. From the shadows of an adjacent corridor, Ken stepped out. Ken, the fugitive Rio, Korean-American from Brooklyn. Not a super malicious guy, kind of just did whatever the hell he wanted. Problem is, a lot of those happen to be illegal, unethical, let's be honest. You're not gonna make this easy for me, are you, buddy? He said, grinning. I always knew you were evil, Kente growled. I just have to eliminate everybody here. He was slowly but surely devolving into an overpowered, primal, rage-driven beast. Ken, why are you... Sandu spoke up, sounding reasonably confused. Ken just shrugged. Promise is a promise, remember? More lost context. Just, what the hell had Sandu been doing over the years? Look out! Sandu's warning had arrived at an opportune time. Kente had stepped forward, launching one of his colossal fists straight at Ken's head. Luckily for him, he managed to summon a creature to take the blow for him just in time. He dove out of the way of a follow-up strike seconds later. Fuck, Ken muttered. This is gonna be annoying. He looked up at AJ. Come on, kid. I know you know what to do. I can't, he muttered, cowering down and visibly trembling with fear. I'm gonna kill. We're gonna die if you fucking don't, I found myself shouting. Listen to Sandu, huh? There's no other options here. My outburst probably wasn't all too helpful, but it was my own instinctual fear speaking for me. During the split second where my attention wasn't trained on Kente, he'd gotten within inches of me. Before I knew it, I was feeling his iron grip around my right forearm. I could feel my bones being crushed in an instant, before I was tossed hard into a wall. My vision faded for just a moment, before all the pain hit me at once. If I was useless in the fight before, I was entirely out of commission now. I could hardly move as my body slid down the wall, flopping onto the floor. Fuck, I spat out, a wave of blood arriving with the words. I could only watch now. With the kid still being scared shitless, there was really only one person capable of fighting. Ken opened up around 10 portals in a circle around him. Ugh, he winced, his forearm veins pulsing like hell while a stream of blood began flowing down from his hairline and nose. God, I hate doing this. All at once, a petrifying roster of esoteric, incomprehensible entities emerged from each one. From what I saw, there was a dark blue, human-shaped eagle that seemed to be comprised of ice, some kind of colossal demonic samurai with a flaming sword, a six-legged creature with a large, jagged blade jutting out of every corner of its body, a zombified gunslinger seemingly left over from the Old West, carrying giant revolvers made out of writhing gray flesh, and a ghoulish humanoid with 4 horns, 5 eyes, 6 arms, and a giant glowing green eyeball on its torso, amongst many others. Ken sighed upon seeing the unsightly creatures he'd summoned. Couldn't I have just had a telekinesis or something? He'd assembled a horde that would have made even the strongest man's knees tremble. But Kente was hardly human anymore. He didn't hesitate for a second. He darted forward in a flash, pulverizing every one of the creatures that stepped up to face him, taking only a few small cuts and insignificant strikes in the process. That was until he got the horn guy with 1 eye in his torso. That one managed to catch Kente's punch with one of its many hands. Evil creature, he snarled, before throwing a cross with his other hand. It was caught again. While Kente had run out of hands, the creature still had 4. It landed a quad combo of devastating punches at Kente's face and upper chest, causing his head to snap back, blood squirting from his eyes and nose. However, his head came back as quickly as it went, drilling into the eye creature's temple and destroying 2 of its eyes. They were both pissed now. They synchronized primal roars before blasting each other with a series of catastrophic strikes. Neither of them bothered with any defense or any kind of strategy for that matter. They were simply out to deal as much damage as possible, hitting each other with everything that they had. During the exchange, I began noticing something strange about Kente's appearance. He was taking a metric fuck ton of damage for sure, but the difference didn't only stem from his wounds. He was changing. His veins were beginning to squirm underneath his skin, almost like trapped snakes trying to burst out. On top of that, he seemed to be getting bigger. In fact, he'd been getting bigger ever since he fought Wu. I just hadn't quite grasped until that point. He towered over Sandu, whom he only supposedly had 2 inches on. Now he was even dwarfing the eye creature who'd been a comprehensible size to him mere minutes ago. What the fuck is this guy? I wondered out loud. Sandu had undoubtedly noticed it as well. I could see his eyes widening in terror at the sight. The creature lowered its head before rushing at Kente horns first. It rammed all 4 of them into his abdomen, managing to dig each of them about an inch deep into his flesh. Kente's roars had also changed. They'd lost any sense of humanity. He was truly in the process of transitioning into a legitimate, bona fide monster. He'd been drifting away from conventional martial arts. He stuck his fingers out, thrusting 2 of them into the creature's eyes before gouging them out in a bloody, slimy mess. Without giving an inch, he followed up by sinking his teeth into the creature's chest, tearing out chunks of pulsating green flesh. He finished the deadly combination by drilling his knee into the creature's torso eye, taking it out while dissolving his own flesh and bones in the process. As he began to collapse, he grabbed the creature by the neck and took it down with him, putting it in a brutal one-legged guillotine choke. He exerted so much pressure that its head popped off completely after a few seconds. Ken was starting to look very worried. With blood still dripping from his nose, he summoned another portal, in which a humanoid squid creature emerged. No use. He was taken out by one swipe from Kente, who blitzed it from a one-legged crawl-run hybrid. Oh, fuck. That was all that Ken managed to get out before being picked up and slammed savagely onto the floor. That would have been the end for him as well, had he not summoned another portal underneath his back at the last moment, allowing himself to land on the soft body of some kind of slime creature, as opposed to the hard metal. He rolled away, hardly managed to dodge a follow-up stomp that not only decimated the creature, but the floor itself. Now wheezing and bloody all over, Ken looked up at Sandu, his face twisted in a fearful desperation. No, not at Sandu. He was looking at the kid. "Come on," he muttered. "I know you can do it." The kid's expression didn't waver, no spark returning to his frightened eyes. It's hopeless, I thought to myself. Do your memories really flash before your eyes when you think you're about to die? Well, some of them do. The ones worth remembering. An attempt to justify the way you lived, the decisions that you made. You come to one daunting realization. You were there, in the midst of the mystery known as life itself. And now, it's all about to fade. As another tear began rolling down the kid's cheek, I could feel one rolling down my own. Ken sighed. "I know you're scared. We don't have any time here, please." Sandu put his hands up, stopping Ken mid-sentence. He had a stone-like expression on his face. "It's happening." Ken looked confused. "What?" I wasn't quite sure of the answer myself, but I got the gist of it. AJ's body was beginning to visibly vibrate, or something to that effect. It started out slow enough, but seemed to intensify drastically with every passing second. Before long, his body had become a dark, formless, stationary blur. From within that blur, 2 sharp, burning red eyes surfaced. And then, I could feel the floor begin to tremble around me. Hey guys, it's still hot out. Like, unreasonably hot out. And you know what's great when it's unreasonably hot out? Iced tea. So if you guys like iced tea, check out Ivory Monocle Tea. That's my wife's loose leaf tea thing she does on Etsy. Etsy.com/shop/Ivory Monocle Tea. You can get a whole bunch of different kinds of teas on there. They can be made hot if you're insane, or they could be made cold if you live anywhere near the equator. So check out Etsy.com/shop/Ivory Monocle Tea, and you can get a whole bunch of different kinds of teas, from the fruity kind to the caffeinated kind to the kind that's named after Creepypasta things, even one that's named after me, My Dark and Stormy Night. And if you ask, when you order that tea, you can get a little MCP dabbing sticker along with it. Oh, also, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but I sign all the cards if they're like horror-related teas. So if you ever wanted that, check that out. That's the only place you can get it now. So yeah, check it out. Etsy.com/shop/Ivory Monocle Tea. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. Thank you so much. A very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Reaper61167, Bobby Karman, Tristan Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, Vicky McQuicky, SamaHigh, CrusaderChocobo, SpookyShel, Atomaurus, Grand Moth the Milky, Big Smoke 369, Captain Scurvy, SaltyIrishPoet, Estebean, Brayden Morris, Nate Kuhl, HorrorFan1212, Hour Minute Second Time, Kyle Reznak, David Martin, Scare-ington the Unkempt, Robert Malcolm, Angelus, Spanky, Snoochie Boochie, Seclude, Lupita Galvin, That Creepy Chick, Tyler Fletcher, Merxenum, Red Shadow Cat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demix, Sean Cadieu-baker, 6 Gay Rats in a Trenchcoat, Turtleman, Rob Like Sharp Things, Cryolinian, Xavier Graphius, Lord Life's Best, Goring Tramagacy, Maria Walker, Emily Mitchell, Crazy Kid, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Eka Limchok, Dirt Diver 030, Matt Bach, Voice of Sand, Coffee Zombie, Hidden Tiger, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Psychomel, Nana, Deleted Account, Melted Lake, Tali Sue, William King, Darth Miver, Michael Ortiz, Titanic Aries, Bardo Hawk 764, Lambda M98, Harley, Sashi Suzaku, Cronut 509, Kaylee Ambrose, Suji Campbell, Stricken, Freddy Krueger, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Benjamin Welverick, Cryptic Nightmares, Kiri the Sloth, Fester's Lampshade, Sky Harbor, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polston, and Corey Kenshin. As always, thank you guys so much, because you guys help me do everything that I do here. You guys help pay authors for stories and commission stories and do everything that I can do to make this channel and make this podcast the best it could possibly be. So thank you all for supporting me here. And as always, everyone, sweet dreams.